A very good morning to everyone. Am I audible? Good morning again. Welcome to episode 8 Life Skills of Bounce Back Talk series, an initiative by us, the Pathfinders. We are 5 coaches from different locations, different walks of life, having different specializations. And what got us together was the belief that also happens to be a very famous movie quote: with great power comes great responsibility. Let me introduce to you the Pathfinders, beginning with myself, your host for this morning. I am Uzma Golindas, a certified ambition and unambiguity coach. I am extremely passionate about helping people with the issues that stand between them and their success. Being an English language trainer and a personality mentor, I also focus on confidence and communication related matters. A postgraduate from London, I currently live in the UAE. The next Pathfinder is Coach Arif Hussain. He's a certified mindset and performance coach, an author, and a fitness enthusiast and mentor. He's a devoted family man and has been associated with the healthcare industry for 20 years. He guides working professionals between the age of 25 to 45 years to achieve their health and professional goals. The next Pathfinder is Mohammed Saeed, an MBA with over 3 decades of international work experience, a seasoned professional, an author, and a certified mind shift empowering coach. Saeed is passionate about reaching out and actively engaged in guiding people to overcome their life challenges through mind shift and transformation. The next, my Pathfinder is the unblocked coach, Hemant Jain. He has been a change management consultant and a trainer with over 18 years of corporate experience. He has worked with large organizations undergoing transformation, focusing on the people side of change. Many working professionals find themselves stuck within glass walls and glass ceiling, and through his coaching, Hemant helps them go higher and further in life and career. The final Pathfinder for today is Jyotika Shetty. Coach Jyotika is a strategic life coach, international author, certified trainer, and an image consultant, helping people achieve their next level performance. She holds an MBA from Manchester Business School and an experience of over 20 years in corporate banking and entrepreneurship. Today, we are here to talk about life skills. We are so focused on our professional choices, and that naturally leads to focusing on and pursuing a professional qualification. And that is a given. We all have to do that. But in the bargain, we completely lose touch with reality and the ups and downs of life that no one is immune to. And these very real ups and downs require a whole different set of skills that we need to imbibe in us, mostly consciously, so that we are able to handle the transitions of situations, emotions, and even physical environments smoothly. Alas, that never really happens, not in most of the cases. And today we wish to highlight the need to do just that because such skills are not part of our academic training. To begin this interesting and important discussion, let me start with the skill that we cannot do without, something we use all the time, we are using even now. That's our communication skills. We learn to speak since we are in our babyhood, and our vocabulary, awareness about language keeps going higher from there. It is often said that a couple of years are probably enough to learn a new language. But even a lifetime doesn't seem enough to learn how to speak to others if the person doesn't wish to learn that themselves. Communication has always been an essential part of all our lives. Knowingly, unknowingly, it has been there, used by us, and this has been the case for centuries. Despite being such a crucial and basic skill, we seem to take it for granted, not granting it the respect that it deserves. Talking to people allows us to establish a connection with them and also aids in exchange of information and gets us the help we may require, right? From making acquaintances to finding the right person for you, communication rules the process. But for anything to be effective, rules are required, and interacting with people also has its guidelines. When these parameters are ignored, communication loses its impact. Languages, they have dialects. and different usages depending on the location. Like in London, the underground train is called the tube, while in the USA, it's called the subway. And as if all that is not enough, we have other rules to look into. These are the unwritten but extremely important codes of verbal communication. Like, have you come across people who ask you a million questions and conversations with them only appear like a Q&A round where all the answers have to come from you? Well, asking questions makes the other person feel that they are being taken interest in. That's true. But too much can actually make them feel like they are being interrogated. Reminds me of Paresh Rawal's character in the movie Judai. Also, a very common problem happens to be the overly vocal, extra eager participants who will not let anyone else finish what they are trying to say. You may hear them out patiently for several minutes, but they won't even grant you half a minute to say what you want to say. Such interactions can leave one feeling humiliated and unheard, leading to emotional resentment. But how much damage do they cause to the process of communication? A lot, actually. People may find it a turn off to participate in discussions where verbal toes are constantly stepped on, and it may also lead to the participants turning a complete deaf ear to the whole interaction, because if you're not going to get to speak, there is no need to pay attention to what is being said, because again, there is no way to cross check how much one has actually absorbed, right? This has happened to me, and believe me, despite best intentions, it just happens so. What is also interesting is that will such conversations ever lead to any fruitful collaborations? I don't think so. Mostly no. Because if you are unable to tolerate someone's presence during a conversation, which is a relatively short period of time, how will you be able to have a working, performing rapport with them? There are a million things that can be said about communication and language. And I, being a language trainer, know this with absolute certainty. But for now, if we can concentrate on communication, communicating with courtesy to promote collaboration, we will have achieved a lot. After pondering over communication skills, it is very natural to wonder about interpersonal skills, isn't it? After all our communication is directed towards someone who we want to interact with for a specific purpose. So I invite Coach Jyotika to share her thoughts with us on this. Jyotika.
Good morning, Uzma, and to everyone present here today, and thank you very much. Well, Uzma, you spoke about an excellent topic, communication. That's very important. But what I'm about to talk about is while it's important to communicate, it's also important to communicate at the right time in the right place. So I'm here to talk about that important aspect that you can communicate when you are handling your emotions in the right way. Otherwise, you just end up talking things which are not required, and it could actually mess up the entire relationship. And that's called as being emotionally intelligent. Now, why this topic is dear to me is that last year I also wrote a book about emotional intelligence and how this particular skill has helped me in my own life to overcome challenges. As fancy as it may sound, we are quite used to hearing this term called as IQ, right? Very few people actually understand, although we may have heard EI and EQ, very few people understand what exactly it is. Let me start by giving an example. Imagine a husband and wife, they're talking to each other, and during the course of conversation, they touch upon a topic where both of them do not have the same views. Now, under normal circumstance, if you know why the other person is thinking so, you would probably understand, and the entire conversation could move towards the direction of understanding, love, compassion, care, all of those things. But imagine the wife or the husband thinks, why is my spouse thinking so? He or she doesn't love me. This is what they behave like. This is always, I'm always, he always behaves like that with me. All of that could actually lead to devastating situation or, completely different direction. Now, this happens when we are not able to handle our own emotions and feel and exclude those emotions that are not required at that point in time. This is called as being not emotionally intelligent. So emotional intelligence is understanding your own emotions. Why are you feeling the way you are feeling? And also understanding the other person's emotions of why they're feeling the way they are feeling. So, in a nutshell, creating that awareness around you, being aware of your emotions, and directing it in a way that will help you progress rather than go down the drain. Now, this is not only important in personal life, but also in professional scenario. Before I touch upon the professional scenario, let me give you an analogy. Now, have you seen an iceberg? I mean, at least in the pictures we have seen, Titanic is the last I saw, but I think that's it. That's where you see the iceberg. At least I saw the iceberg. Now, the iceberg, what is visible to the eyes, is 1/3 or even a small portion above the surface, or above the sea, above the water. Now, the actual iceberg, if you actually look at it, there's a huge, huge iceberg that's lying below the sea. And this clearly can be applied to the opportunities that are lying or you face in your life. COVID situation, for example, all of them, yes, we've all been affected, no doubt about it. But how many of us have actually taken this or also seen opportunities that are lying amongst these challenges? You see, Zoom that we are talking, sitting here, is one of those opportunities that the world saw. And a lot of our life, a major portion of our life is lying in Zoom now. I mean, I can say that Zoom is my second home. So this is the opportunity that the world saw. Now, how much opportunity did we see in our world depends on how we have actually taken this whole situation and the perspective that we have applied here. Now, the iceberg that is below the surface or below the sea is the opportunity that lies most of the time in our life. Apply this to your own life. And the actual thing, what is visible to your eyes, is the challenge that is visible to the eyes. But we can see those opportunities only when we are able to see. Yes, absolutely. Great. Thank you very much for that. Now, if you actually look at it and you're able to bring in that perspective, you can actually see the opportunities that are lying beneath the surface, the sea. And this is possible when you shift your perspective of how you look at things, for which we need to be emotionally intelligent. Now, talking about the professional aspect, imagine you have a boss or a colleague who's constantly nagging you or is probably not the way you think. Are you going to end up fighting with them? It's definitely not going to help you in your career, right? So some way you have to manage it in a better way. You would be surprised to know that there's an organization called Career Builder, and it's a pretty old research that was done. There was a survey that was conducted in the year 2011 amongst 2,600 hiring professionals. Now, what they said was 59% of them would not hire someone with high IQ and low EQ, which means it was important that the person had the ability to handle their challenges, handle their emotions, in addition to the technical qualifications that they had. And 75% of employees with high EI are likely to be promoted. So you stand a better chance when you're able to conduct yourself in a good way in an organization. Now, let me give another example. Mark Murphy, he's a leadership guru actually. Now, he also wrote a couple of books which are very famous. Now, he conducted a survey on 20,000 employees who were hired. And he found out that 48% of them failed within the first 18 months. And why did they fail? 89% of the time was because of their attitude, and only 11% was due to their lack of skill. Which means when you're emotionally intelligent, when you're able to handle yourself better, you develop great attitude, you will be able to manage stress, and you'll also be able to make good decisions in your life. How many of them actually end up doing this? We see a lot of divorces, we see a lot of misunderstandings, failed relationships. If you actually look at it, it is only because of we have not been able to handle the things, or at least the most of the time, it's because we've not been able to handle the matter in a pragmatic manner, in a much more rational manner. Last but not the least, I would like to leave this entire conversation now with one small, what do you call, one small message that was given by Professor Koti from University of Toronto. And what he said was, people who are emotionally intelligent don't remove all emotions from their decision making. They remove emotions that have nothing to do with the decision. And if we are able to remove those unwanted emotions from I mean, it's not bad to be emotional, right? We are human beings, and emotion is our basic fundamental of our characteristics or our personality. But what is important is to remove those unwanted emotions out of the entire equation, and you're able to manage your professional life, your personal life, and your life in totality with great results. So if you're seeking success, it's not only the certificate that you should be running behind, but managing your relationship, managing your own emotions, and managing the emotions of the people that you're interacting with. That is extremely important for your success. Over to you, Isma.
Thank you for that, Jyotika. I'm in complete agreement. I mean, during my university days, I always heard that IQ is going to be a criterion of the bygone era, and EQ was supposedly everything. And looks like that's coming true already. So when we interact with people, we are absolutely overwhelmed with joy, or at least overwhelmed, because sometimes interactions are complex situations. We find out things about others, about ourselves, and various decisions to make and whatnot. So now I think we should have Coach Hemant so that we can hear from him what he thinks about critical thinking and decision making. Hemant, over to you.
Thank you, Coach Uzma. I think, therefore I am. I'm sure we have all heard about that. But I think, on a very serious note, thinking as a skill is something which has kind of been left out of our education system for reasons I fail to understand. Our thinking process, the way it has been developed by the education system, has been kind of restricted to, in the early stages in math, 1 plus 1 is 2 and 7 multiplied by 3 is 21 and so forth. It was very, very mathematical. The questions and the answers were already taught to us. So basically no thinking was required. We already knew what we were looking for. We were taught some processes to follow to arrive at answers and to arrive at solutions. When it came to all other subjects, we just learned stuff by heart. The thinking was not really encouraged. I see a little bit of that being done in our education, the modified or the changed education system of today. But we went through a time where, or at least I went through a time where thinking was not the top priority, learning was. Growing up, even in professional college, etc., thinking was encouraged, but I think they forgot that we did not know how to think. The process of thinking an original thought, an original idea, or going through getting a case and trying to figure out a solution without following a set pattern or an already established pattern. That's what thinking is, and not following something which you have already been taught. That's not original thought. And that's where we have been lacking. I think what has also happened is most of us engage in asking a lot of questions. What will happen if I do this? What will happen if I don't do this? The trouble starts when we don't answer them, right? I think quite a few audience members will identify with that whole thing about asking a lot of questions and not answering them, because that's what we called worrying. In the last episode, Uzma, you had coined the term warriors. We all are warriors in that fashion, that we ask questions without answering them. Thinking begins with those answers. The moment you ask yourself a question, it's the conversation we are having with ourselves. Uzma, you talked about communication a few minutes ago. Jyotika talked about those relationships, interpersonal skills. What about the communication we have with ourselves? The chatter, the constant conversation which happens in our head. What about the relationship we have with ourselves? Asking questions but not answering them. The thinking starts from answers we give to ourselves. And it's an extremely important thing because one, the worry is now out of the window because we asked a question, we answered it. We can of course ask another question and then answer that, and then another question and answer that. The worry is now out of the window. The thinking has replaced it. As we go on answering the questions, we are getting more and more prepared for whatever we were thinking about. It could be planning a birthday party or planning my retirement or even planning insurance in case an untoward incident happens. It's the answers which is the start of the thinking. And now when it comes to thinking, the other thing which I found kind of losing out in the race of media consumption is reading. Barring a little bit of newspaper reading, which people do, reading books is a habit which is now become rare. Yes, the Harry Potters are being read by kids and by some of us adults too. I'm a Harry Potter fan. But of course, reading needs to be increased. And I don't mind fiction reading because fiction reading by way of fantasy worlds helps us develop a creative side to our thinking. Reading non-fiction gives us better perspective, which will aid in our thinking. So first step is to start thinking, then is to develop thinking by reading. Have a variety of reading habits. I mean, I don't recommend newspapers, sorry. There's more bad news in there than good news. I stopped reading newspapers 20 years ago, but I have been reading books all through. There have been years when I have read more than 50 books in a year. Fiction, non-fiction, all types of books. They expand your perspective. And now before I would close, I would talk about the actual thinking skill. The term brainstorming is used by many people and it's used very loosely. Let's brainstorm some ideas. Let's together and thrash out some ideas. One of the basic tenets of brainstorming is then ignored completely. The basic tenet of brainstorming is when we are in the process of generating ideas, you don't judge any of the ideas. It's a free flow of ideas. It's a free for all ideas. If 5 people are sitting at the table and coming out with ideas, you don't stop anybody. You don't criticize anybody. You don't judge any idea as soon as it comes. Because the moment you start doing it, you are discouraging someone from coming up with further ideas. You may call an idea stupid. Let that idea be stupid, but let it be there on the table. Let it be there without judgment. Because stupid ideas can encourage more ideas. Of course, it can encourage more stupid ideas, but then one of them will be a very brilliant idea, which you would have lost out if you would have not encouraged that first stupid idea. So it's very important to understand brainstorming in its true sense and utilize it in the true sense. And of course, the second thinking tool, which I often recommend to people is a very interesting and useful tool, which is the 6 thinking hats. What that tool does is compartmentalizes your thinking into different ways. So that's another way of preventing you from getting either emotional or too negative or too judgmental about your ideas. So it says compartmentalize your thinking. Put on a white hat and look at data and facts and information. Don't look at any other aspect. Don't think about how you feel about the idea or what could go wrong with the idea. Look at only facts. The red hat thinking is pretty much how you feel about the idea. What does your intuition say? Does it seem right? Does it sound right? Right? Then you go to the values and the benefits of that idea. If it works, what will happen? The yellow hat thinking. The green hat thinking is for creativity solutions. Be creative. Come out with your stupid ideas. Come out with your fantabulous ideas. Right? What if I were to able to give serve food to every member on planet Earth? 7 billion plus people. It's an impossible task. It's an impossible idea. But can I start thinking on that? Because the moment I start thinking about that, I can talk to a few people who can say, yeah, we can do that. Maybe not 7 billion, but can we start with 1 million? Can we start with 10 million? Can we start with 100 million? I mean, some members here may be aware that recently UAE as a country took on this challenge of feeding 100 million people. They seeked donations and they went far above 100 million in getting donations. And now they plan to feed about 200 million plus people. Somebody thought of an idea and then it was taken up. The blue hat is about the process. Now you get into the details. And if we were to take this idea up, how will we go through it? What will be the next steps? What will be the action plans? And then finally, you bring in the black hat. What will go wrong? Why this idea will not work? What is the worst that can happen if this idea is brought into play? Now, by compartmentalize your thinking, if you're working in a group or even when you're working alone, you give yourself freedom to think in a particular direction. And once you have that freedom, then you can go all out and think. And then, of course, you're looking at all the perspectives. So each one of you in the audience and those who are looking at the Facebook Live or those who are even looking at our YouTube videos, make sure you start thinking, answer the questions you are asking yourself and think. That's a life skill without which you can't live. Over to you, Usman.
Thanks, Hemant. That really was thoughtful, and I'm sure the audiences are already thinking. Please let us know what you're thinking in the chat box. And I hope, Hemant, that your talk provokes people enough to start reading again. Okay. We have discussed communication, interpersonal skills, thinking. Now is the time to jump into some real life, hardcore, everyday stuff without which life cannot move on. I know you're a bit curious to know what these skills are, so I ask Coach Saeed to share with us his thoughts on this subject. Over to you, Saeed.
Yeah, thank you, Usman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I mean, the people who spoke before me, I think they presented very interesting perspectives. And life skill, simply put, these are the skills required for everyone to manage themselves, to lead a successful life, and also to avoid embarrassments. When I say that, I mean, I will explain what it is like. But in general, you know, there are different kind of skills that you will be needing at different stages of life. Some as a student, they're different as a professional. And some skills you need as a spouse, some you need as a parent. These are all different things at different stages of life. However, there are certain things that you need at all stages of life. These are the basic things that you need, and having these skills will make your life easier and better. So, broadly speaking, I would put skills into two categories. One, the skill that you need to deal with the external world. And the two, these are the skills that really matters to you. That is at an individual level, a personal level. So when I say skill at external, to deal with external world, the skill that you need, like technical skills, trade skills, ability to speak like the speaker, before we emphasized on that, interpersonal, behavioral skills, and various other skills that you need to be successful as a professional. All right. And this part is largely organized, and it is institutionalized, and people can seek these skills in a planned and programmed manner. While the other skills, which is a major part, according to me, is not at all focused. And these are the fundamental requirements, yet it is largely neglected. These skills that you need on a daily basis, and they don't find place in our education system, definitely not in our continent. And even in workplaces, they are largely neglected. So what I mean by these fundamental skills, that is the hands-on experience on just about anything. Let us take, just for example, simply cooking. Irrespective of the gender and age, I would say one should know some cooking, because that will help you survive any place, anytime. Let me share my experience. I left my house and went to Gulf to work. And when I went there, of course, I don't know nothing about nothing cooking. So food is available, nice restaurants are there. I thought, okay, it's much better. I can eat one good thing at each day. I did it. I did it for a couple of weeks. The only thing is I ended up in a hospital with a bad stomach. Okay, I was there in 5 days. Then everybody said, no, you should cook. Yes, I need to cook, but I don't know nothing about cooking. So that's when I spent a lot of time talking to my mom how to cook. And all that I did was I cooked a bowl of rice and a bowl of dal. And these things was like, when I ate that, it is like I'm eating something from the heaven because I cooked it. And moreover, it has reduced my dependency on external source. I don't have to go to anybody to do that. So this kind of independence, that is the first time I felt, okay, I can cook now. I can be on my own. I can do this thing by myself. I don't have to depend on something else. So that was a fantastic revelation for me. Like that, there are so many other things that people should know. That's what I feel. Like cooking, fixing things, basic repairs, at home, and sewing maybe, fix a button on your coat or anything like that. Cleaning, buying, if you go out, I don't know how many of you experience, but because I have young adults as children, when I go out with them, let's say I go to vegetable market, they don't know many of the vegetables. He can't name them. He don't know what it is. Forget about leaves. He cannot differentiate the leaves at all. And this is, when they go out to survive on their own, I think these things will deprive them of many of the living in a comfort, because they will again depend on some other things, and also things like organizing. Organize your bookshelf. Do some. These are the basic things that you need to be knowing right from childhood, which eventually will help you when you grow up and become a professional. If you are able to organize your bookshelf as a child and as at home, tomorrow when you are at work, your desk will be, you can expect it to be clean. You see, this is how it builds up. So kids today, they don't know the difference between a banyan tree and a mango tree. This is not a very good situation. It's good to be as a joke, but it's not a good situation when you go out there and live in a real life. So you need to be knowing these things. You need to be knowing, because let me share another funny incident happened with me. I had a guest staying with me for some days when I was working in Gulf. This guy is an engineer and he worked in different countries, and he is a software professional with a lot of certifications in Microsoft and Oracle and all these things. And one day he's ironing, okay? He's ironing for the last 5 minutes, and he calls me and says, Sai, this iron box is not working. I said, why is it not working? It's fine. When I went and saw, what I saw is he put this iron box plug into a telephone socket. Would you believe this? Telephone socket. He doesn't know the difference between a telephone socket and a power socket. Now, what is the use of all his education? And it so happened that he got a very good job in a very big company, but he could not install a printer. He was fired. So this is the thing, these are the practical things that one need to know, and one need to know from early age, and it helps. It helps. And I have come across instances where people working at a shop floor level, when they went on vacation, things went wrong, and big managers and big engineers could not fix it, and they canceled their vacations and brought them back. So I would emphasize that one need to be involved in doing things with your own hands, have a hands-on experience. This will go a long way in supporting you as a professional also. So what I would suggest is parents should involve their children right from early age, to get them to do things, do some small things at home, make them cook something, make them learn how to do those things, feel it, experience it. Because experience, you can read 10 books about making an omelette, but you cannot make it unless you really make it. So that's as simple as that, you see. So this has a severe impact as you grow up in your professional life also. These things should become as a habit. When you become a habit, then it's easier for you. So apart from getting all those professional and all those things, I would suggest that it is also a very effective way of, when you do these things, it's also a very effective way of family bonding, building a team spirit, and kind of, all these things, it will come as a package when we get involved children in doing these things and make them a complete man, as they say. So having said that, over to you, Usma.
Thank you so much for that, Saeed. I couldn't agree more with you. But you said that there are kids these days who have problems differentiating between mango tree and banyan tree. Well, there's a very quick way to do that. On banyan tree, you find female ghosts. I mean, they say churel rehti hai uspe, right? So that's the easiest way, the easiest hack to differentiate between the two trees. So yeah, if we wish life to be smooth, better, and if we desire to be self-reliant, it will come not just if we attain financial freedom, but we'll have to know these basic skills too, just as Saeed said, to be truly independent. So after being good at communicating, having developed all the handy skills, dealing with the intricacies of interpersonal relationships, and learning how to think a little bit today, let us dive into some mindset skills that are absolutely useful even in our everyday lives. But somehow they do not get as much attention, probably because their usefulness can only be experienced. So I asked Coach Arif to take us through those skills and share his experience. Arif?
Thanks, Uzma. And good morning, everyone. So I was amazed to see when Saeed was speaking about that telephone socket story, right? And I realized that people are running and working to become specialists, and they don't want to become, jack of all trades, maybe. But change is the only constant in life, as you know. So how do we adapt to this ever-changing world becomes one, it has become the biggest challenge. So adaptability is defined as the ability to adjust to new or change conditions quickly without experiencing stress or negative emotions. Whenever there is a change in the outer environment, a lot of time is wasted in thinking about the past, even if people were not very happy in the past too. So some people adapt to changes quickly and get results quickly. Those people are high on demand in jobs and in the society as well. But they help others as well to bring in the change required to adapt to new normal. For example, people who could foresee the challenges they would face during the pandemic were more prepared and brought changes accordingly and actually changed the way they were doing their business and leading their lives. People who were stuck in their minds thinking that old days will come again could not decide what to do and perished or are still struggling. That means adaptive people are visionaries too. They can foresee the future. People who are unemployed struggles for getting good jobs, and who get jobs live in fear of losing it. Where will the confidence come from then? So it will come from having more than required skills, doing more than required. And then you won't have to praise your bosses unnecessarily or laugh at their jokes even when you don't want to. So this is just my personal opinion and not any suggestion. Everyone should have at least one such skill, whether a passion or a hobby, which you can earn from in times of need. For example, cooking good food, which is always in demand. Basic, maybe servicing of vehicles, or music, dance, or yoga, which is trending now, or just travel and photography. Maybe you can teach others how to use social media and apps. So these skills can even help if one is not literate or maybe stuck in homemaking for years. We don't know when the time would change. So remaining prepared will keep you away from any kind of distress. And not just earn, but also know how to manage your money well. Watch our previous video on money management if you have not seen yet. Now, the idea is to be aware of yourself and your environment. Best kind of adaptability is being prepared even before the time comes. One way of learning life skills is to go and stay alone at some place where you don't know anybody. Like some of our coaches had. In fact, I got an opportunity to do that, and I learned in 2-3 years what I could not in my entire career. When we are at home or with friends, we show anger at the first instant. But can you do that with strangers at a new place? We love to tag people with negativity very easily. For example, Delhiites are stereotyped for using the names of their powerful connects. मेरे चाचा मिनिस्टर है, मेरा भाई पुलिस में है, etc. No, I do not generalize. All kinds of people are there in such big cities, but just assume if there are some people who do that. Same people will learn how to tackle a situation when in new place without bringing those names in conversation. Why? Because you are alone. Humans have natural survival instincts. We kill those instincts by remaining in comfort. Get out of your comfort zone and you will learn naturally how to adapt to a change or a new environment or a new normal, one of which is going on. You will learn how you can make great friends even if they were not connected with you earlier. You will know how to control your emotions. You will know how not to react to small or unimportant incidences. You will know how you can take care of yourself before anyone or anything else to keep yourself healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, and even spiritually. There will be times when you could rely only on God or the universe, whatever you believe in. You will know your strengths and weaknesses. You will anyway know the reality when you will be alone, right? You will learn how you keep a balance between your feelings and rational, how you can behave wise and not get carried away with emotions, whether it is love, anger, ego, or anything else. So the other way to learn life skills would be to go for a solo traveling and explore new places, new people, new culture, food, right? Or spend a few years, maybe a year or two in sales or in some job where you have to deal with public. The simplest thing would be to involve 100% in what you do and the daily chores at home, things that happen in your environment, in your neighborhood, and in the society, or things that you want to happen. As Gandhiji said, be the change that you wish to see the world. Over to you, Uzma.
Thank you for that, Arif. It was thought-provoking, almost enlightening. And I think after listening to your talk, it is time to add patience as one of the life skills to our list. See, we need to be flexible and adaptive in our approach and attitude too, as change is the only constant, and we need to keep moving ahead with the changing times in our lives. The list of skills that make life better, easier, more independent is endless. And with the ever-changing environment that we live in, I'm sure it wouldn't harm to add maybe sense of humor, liking your own company, and attaining a sense of balance, like not going towards any one extreme. I think those will help too. Now that we have finished discussing this with all the coaches, dear audience, we end the discussion here, but it is just the beginning of your thoughts on this matter. So I open the floor for your questions. Feel free to flood the chat box with your queries and experiences. And if you raise your Zoom hand, that's in the reaction tab, you will get to speak to one of us directly. Please go ahead.
Probably take a picture.
Yes, Mr. Yasin.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you? Thank you for all very, very interesting. We always learn something, only small word or small approach that even all our experience, sometimes we miss things that you guys, if each one brings something, which I love it. And one thing that I didn't hear is the word listening. You know, we are talking about communications, but we didn't talk about listening. And I think this is maybe, for me, it's maybe the number one before communications. And the rest, of course, emotions and the rest, I agree totally. And I like Jyotika approach, because I have a book that I want to write, and I will use a lot of things that you are talking about. So I will share that. And thank you for all. This is what I want to say. What do you think?
Mr. Yasin, since I spoke about communication, I would like to take that along with any other coaches that would want to participate. Communication does include listening because it is one of the skills. That is how you communicate. Communication is a two-way process. So unless you listen, you will not be able to respond or talk. And if the communication is initiated in a way that talking goes first, the response has to come and you'll have to listen to the response. So listening is an inherent part of communication. It cannot happen that you just keep talking and no one is listening. So that's by default, it goes into that.
Yeah, and Yasin, I'm just for the benefit of the audience. One reason why we did not focus on listening today was that any conversation you have on conversation, listening is pretty much the first thing which comes up. As you rightly said, it's the foundation for any communication. What we tried to do today was touch upon certain topics which are not the commonly talked about ones.
Yeah.
So listening is kind of a de facto, it's always there. So we try to focus on things which are kind of left out, which are given second priority. So let's highlight those. We cannot educate people. We strongly believe that we don't have it in ourselves to go out and educate people on all the stuff we have talked about. What we can do is give a gentle nudge and a gentle push in the right direction. And then people are intelligent and matured enough to explore those subjects further and take on further learning.
I think with this COVID, it is a chance. For me, it's a chance really to change the system of educations, the system of communication as well, and maybe to put everyone in the same level. When I say everyone, it means Europe, America, Asia, you know, India, Africa, to put them in the same level. Why there is always up, why there is always down. I mean, we have very smart people in every continent, which they don't have the chance to communicate and to be, how can I seen as a high level. It has to be always from the other side, but not from another side. And I think with the communications and the Zoom, the platforms, maybe people would be highlighted and they will see, okay, we have something happen in India, something happened in Africa, something happened in Indonesia, something, it's not always the other side. So I hope this COVID, maybe it will give a chance to make the balance different.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Thank you, Yasin.
Welcome. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for you.
Thank you.
That was a noble thought, Mr. Yasin, but I think it will take time, much like the educational revolution that we are aiming for. Okay, anyone else who would like to speak to us?
Galal?
Okay, show of hands, anybody on video? I'm just looking through all the...
Yeah.
Galal, we did read your comment where your mom said that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you would listen rather than speak, or you would listen twice as much as you speak.
I think
Wonderful thought.
Yeah, she told me that over 60 years ago.
Okay. I'm sure your wife is one lucky lady, Galal.
no, good morning, Galal.
Listen twice and speak just half of that. I mean, that's I think what I would say almost #1 on women's list, right?
I want to ask a question to Galal. You said You posted something about Aristotle. Is it Aristotle or your wife?
You're going to get me into trouble, Saeed. I'm sorry I came in late and I heard you guys talking about is it cooking? Because I'm an honorary chef, even though I can only do eggs by the Egyptian Chefs Association. And I came out as a chef in many tikka. I'm Mr. Spicy, chicken tikka, many things like that. Yeah.
Galal, the thing about cooking is that if you know that skill, of course, it will allow you to survive outside, but at the same time, irrespective of the gender, it will help you survive with your own spouse.
Now I learned we used to have a maid for 12 years and we discovered that she was robbing us. So for the past 3 months now, I've been learning to serve my breakfast in bed to my wife. I do the coffee, I do eggs and things like that. And I've developed muscles on my eyebrows because I keep going up and down, carrying all these things, and some of it falls on the floor and I'm clumsy. Now we're in a resort. I'm not at home. We're out of town on the Mediterranean. So I don't have to go up and down. It's a one floor chalets. So
Enjoy your time.
That's really
Those
sweet.
are great life
Galal.
skills.
I'd love to tell you about, of course, now I'm 77 and she's 70.
It's okay. You don't need to tell us.
She can't carry her bags and things, so it's full of everything, the charger, the phone, everything. And then men start to look at me and start saying, "Hi there, honey," when they see me carrying a woman's bag. And I started doing the beds as well. This is something new for me. And what else? And she wakes me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and asks me if I'm thirsty. This means she wants me to go and get her some water. So I've been learning a lot.
Yeah. And you said you're very good with eggs, Galal. I hope you've not taken over the chef's egg station in the breakfast buffet.
Well, we have two meanings of eggs in Egypt, but I don't think you would like me to talk about the second one. So yeah.
It's a family show.
It's a family show, and secondly, I'm not from Egypt, so please count me out.
Okay, but I think a fairly good set of skills, life skills, Galal has also pointed out. Keeping your wife happy, or let's say keeping your spouse happy. Thank you, Galal.
Happy wife, happy life. Happy wife, happy life. Yeah, I learned that.
That could be a life skill.
Today we have Anna.
I think this is a good time when we can ask all our audience members to come on video for a moment before we start losing a few people.
Because we need to take a picture. So if all of you come on your videos, we will be able to capture you and you'll be able to see it when we post it. Otherwise, it's just going to be empty windows and even your name may not be displayed. That's the way Zoom works. Thank you so much, Saurabh, Prashanti, Mr. Krishna, Mr. Yasin Sirat, Mr. Masood and Galal have already been with us throughout.
Maya, Vandana,
Sumaya, Anna,
Alex,
Rashil, Lingeshwaran. Mr. Alex, can you please come on your videos if possible? It would be great to just have that picture with you.
Okay, Sumaya is here.
Thank you, Sumaya. Thank you, Vandana and Alex.
Alex and Vandana are also here. Fantastic. Okay, let me take the picture. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We still have time if you have any questions or if you want to interact.
Yes, please. We can still talk and take your questions. I hope you don't want me to make that airline kind of an announcement. This is the last call for all questions and interactions. Please line up. Oh, looks like we have one satisfied
Vandana.
and happy audience.
Yes, just a second. Vandana, sorry, I didn't see your hand going up.
Yeah, good morning to all, and it was a great session and quite a lot of learning also. And
thank you, Vandana.
Yeah, and I loved your conversation also. Mr. Dalal was sharing his experience. That was quite good. I was moving around in the house and putting on my earphones and listening. So now I got time. I said, okay, let's have a click.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, all the wives can actually, ask their husbands to listen to what Dalal just said. We'll put the recording up soon, so you would not yet miss the opportunity.
Okay.
Anyone else would like to speak to us? You said something, Said?
Hemant was saying something, but he is on mute.
No, I was just saying that we are going to put up the recordings. So whoever you want that they should listen to certain parts of it, make them do so. Okay, any further hands going up? Anybody wants to interact? Or we could come to the conclusion of the session.
Okay, so since we don't see any more questions, we are about to stop the recording, but please feel free to interact with us some more after the recording stops. We can still talk, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah, Yasin, you can see the recordings on YouTube. All videos are available there.
On YouTube, all of us actually put the recordings up. So by tomorrow, you'll be able to see them on any and all of the 5 channels.
Yes. And we'll put in the chat, we will put in our link for the feedbacks for this session. So it will be great to hear from all of you. Those feedback inputs help us make the sessions better. And we are already on the 8th episode. So 2 more episodes to go for our 10-part series of Bounce Back to End. And your inputs will give us ideas for what project we take up next.
Sure.
Okay. And yes, Uzma, you should tell them about our next session.
The next session is actually going to be about something very interesting. I'll just give you a hint. It's like birds of a feather flock together. Any ideas? The company you keep? It's going to be the mastermind. So let's see what your mastermind is when we meet next time. And we'll tell you about our mastermind, of course. Do join us at 11 a.m. next Saturday. We would love to have you. And now we can just talk.